So what's one of the most surprising testimonies or things you've learned as you've been digging into this? What's been like, really?
Well, I mean, I'm a little bit like you. I remember, finding so much material on Luther. It's like, Luther, what? I mean, like, this guy's like busted on healing on one hand, and here he is like praying for Melanchthon and his friends. It's like, what is this? I mean, you're mentioning that earlier, and I think I got like this current book I'm working on, this Dissenters, Nonconformist period. I'm starting to find stuff on early English Baptists. I'm like, what? Baptists praying for the sick? Like, no way. So much so that I've got an actual full, decent sized chapter on early English Baptists and them praying for the sick. It's like, so I, there are a lot of things that I've been challenged about. I remember when I first started doing work on this, I kind of almost embraced the Pentecostal idea that God moved a whole lot in the beginning, and then he didn't really start moving till maybe late 1800s, early 1900s.
1906.
I mean, I didn't really believe that, but I sort of leaned into that still. Like everything else has been kind of invalid, so to speak. And what I was really challenged as I started really studying the Middle Ages, and Catholicism, and I'm finding I can't really dismiss these accounts,
Right.
like from relics and things I'm not comfortable with, things like pilgrimages and relics and they put on the shoes of one of the monks, and these crazy stories that really are really, I think, are reliable stories. You look at the and you look at and the Catholic Church starts scrutinizing even the miracles, which makes them that much more reliable. Like you have the
Right.
devil's advocate that's going to poke a hole in every story if it can be poked into, and so, like, I'm finding credible stories in the Middle Ages. I mean, I can definitively say that God never stopped healing, and there's not a period of its real cessation. What is surprising, though, is that sometimes people are forced to approach God in ways that are strange to us. I mean, if the Catholic Church argued that no one is holy enough to pray for sick today, the people said, fine, we'll just pray to an old saint that was holy. We'll get the job done, or we'll go visit their church where they're buried, and we'll pray to the God of that saint, and we'll get healed. And they did, and I mean,
Yeah.
and it was based more on faith, I mean, than anything else.
Right. Yeah.
There's all kinds of stories of people and moments. I think the French and English kings praying for the sick as a way to justify, their authority or their rulership is an interesting story that I'm
Yeah. Can you give me like a testimony of something that you learned there in terms of royalty praying for the sick?
Well, yeah, they prayed. At first, they prayed for a lot of things, but later on, it became a specific skin disease. I don't know how to pronounce it quite right, scrofula, something like that. But it would be like these open sores, and it kind of made people look like pigs. And it was so common in England and France and Europe at the time. And the disease began to be called the King's Evil because it was a disease the kings could heal just by touching the people. And all kinds of stories. I was just reading one about a blind girl that they brought before Charles II. She couldn't even see, and so then they would go, and the king would like have his entourage of like pastors, and they would pray for the people, and the king would fast for like days before this event. He put like this gold coin medallion over them, and he'd pray biblical prayers and touch them, usually touch their face, kind of like that picture on the front of the book there.
Yeah.
Great rakes. He emulated how the kings prayed. They call it, they kind of did a stroking on the face. And anyway, this girl, they pray for her, and like, I don't know, 30 minutes later, she's still in the service, and she says, Mama, what's that pole? So she can suddenly start seeing. And like, and
Wow.
there's like hundreds of stories. Charles II prayed for 100,000 people this way. I mean, it was a huge part of particularly English and French history that's been sort of lost. And so
Interesting.
there's all kinds of fascinating stories. That healing is probably arguably the common Christian experience for most. I mean, I could argue that there's more commonalities in the healing experience than just about any other component of Christian experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like God has been answering prayers throughout all of Christianity.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many rabbit holes, and part of the problem me doing these little individual books is I start going down the rabbit holes and start buying new books, and some books I'd actually read before, but I kind of was in a hurry to trying to get this book done that I only kind of superficially used some of them. Then I start actually going in and really mining the book. I start finding all these amazing stories and experiences that are really compelling.